Patriots fans, it feels good to be back talking about our team because things are finally looking up in Foxborough. The Patriots are sitting at 7 wins and 2 losses, and the energy around this team feels completely different from what we saw earlier in the year. The locker room looks confident, the sideline is fired up, and you can sense that this group is starting to believe they can go toe-to-toe with anybody. But here's the big question floating around right now. If anything were possible, if every player in the league was available, who would you want to see wearing that Patriots jersey for the rest of the season? What name instantly comes to mind when you think about taking this roster from good to great? It's a fun debate because, let's be real, this team has momentum. They're finally running the football with authority, the defense is flying to the ball, and Drake May has started to look like the kind of quarterback that can command the huddle and control the tempo of a game. But no roster is perfect, especially when you're pushing for a deep playoff run. And that means the trade deadline starts to look like an opportunity. The question becomes, where do the Patriots truly need help? Let's start in the backfield because a lot of people have been asking about that running game. Ramondre Stevenson was out last week dealing with a toe injury, but the good news is that he should be back soon. In his absence, guys like Ty Montgomery and JaMycal Hasty stepped up, and while it wasn't perfect, they did enough to keep the offense balanced. Jamar Jennings even found the end zone, which was great to see. Henderson had some solid carries, and overall, the ground attack held its own. It might not have been flashy, but the Patriots actually won the rushing battle against a team that has one of the most dynamic young running backs in the league. That's no small thing. So for now, the running game looks stable. When Stevenson returns, that 1-2 punch should keep defenses honest. That's why I don't think the Patriots need to panic or make any drastic moves at running back. Keep the current rotation, let the guys stay healthy, and ride that balance as the season gets deeper. Now, let's move over to the wide receivers, because that's where things start to get interesting. Every time the Patriots offense takes a step forward, fans immediately ask if it's time to add another weapon on the outside. People keep bringing up names like Brian Thomas Jr. and Chris Olave. And look, I get the excitement. Both guys are young, explosive, and could bring a new level of athleticism to this offense. But before we start dreaming about big trades, we got to think about the ripple effect. If you bring in a high-profile receiver who loses targets. Right now, Kayshon Boutte has been showing flashes of what made him such a hyped prospect out of college. Pop Douglas is thriving in the slot, and even Stephon Diggs, who's been rock solid, needs consistent touches to stay engaged. So if a new star comes in, someone's role shrinks. That's the reality. And chemistry matters. You can't just plug in a new receiver and expect instant magic. Still, if the front office finds the right fit, someone who complements May's strengths and doesn't disrupt the locker room, I'm all for it. It just has to make sense long term. There are always tempting names out there. People mention Calvin Ridley, Odell Beckham Jr., DJ Chark, even Robert Woods. Each of those guys brings something different to the table, but they also come with question marks: age, health, consistency, attitude, or cost. Personally, I'd stay away from the big-name gambles. The Patriots don't need drama. They need production and reliability. Someone like Chark, for example, could fit as a solid depth piece, a receiver 3 who can stretch the field when needed. Nothing flashy, but functional. And honestly, I think the real priority shouldn't even be on the offensive side of the ball. Because if there's one thing the Patriots have always built their identity on, it's defense. And that's where I think the next big move should happen, specifically at edge rusher. The pass rush has had its moments, but it's missing that consistent, relentless pressure that throws elite quarterbacks off rhythm. We saw glimpses of dominance earlier in the season. KC had a sack and a couple of tackles for loss last week, which was encouraging. But Harold Landry hasn't looked quite as explosive as he did early on, and that's a concern. The Patriots' defense is built on depth and rotation, and right now the edge rotation feels a bit thin. Look at how the Philadelphia Eagles dominated last year. They didn't just have 1 or 2 good pass rushers, they had a wave of them. Fresh legs every drive, constant pressure, total disruption. That's the formula New England needs to recreate if they want to compete with teams like Kansas City or Baltimore. That's why someone like Trey Hendrickson becomes such an intriguing name. The guy is a force. He has that nonstop motor that Belichick loves, and when he's healthy, he's a game changer. The Bengals might be open to moving him, especially after that brutal loss they just suffered, but the catch is that it would probably be a one-year rental. He's on a short extension, so any team trading for him has to accept that risk. You're basically saying, we're going all in this year. And honestly, I wouldn't hate that. If the price is right, Hendrickson could elevate this defense immediately. Imagine pairing him with Matthew Judon when he's back to full strength. That kind of pass-rushing duo can wreck games. But again, it depends on the cost. If the Bengals want a first-round pick, I'd hesitate. If it's more reasonable, maybe a mid-rounder or a player swap, I'd say go for it. There are also smaller, more realistic options out there. Maybe you don't swing for the fences. Maybe you go for that single, as coaches like to say, a reliable rotational edge guy who can keep the starters fresh. Every contender has that unsung hero, the guy who doesn't make headlines but makes plays on third down. That's what the Patriots could use right now. Someone tough, experienced, and hungry. Because let's face it, the AFC is stacked with quarterbacks who can light up a scoreboard if you give them time. Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar, they'll pick you apart if your front four isn't getting home. The Patriots don't need more flash. They need consistent pressure. And that brings us to another critical spot on the roster, cornerback depth. Last week gave everyone a bit of a scare when Christian Gonzalez went down after going up for that 50-50 ball with Drake London. Thankfully, he's fine and even told coaches he was ready to go back in if needed, which is a huge relief. Gonzalez is an absolute stud, an all-pro level corner in the making. But the issue isn't with the starters. It's with what comes after them. Marcus Jones struggled a bit last game, but that was mostly because the Falcons kept moving London around and forcing mismatches. It's tough when you're a smaller, quick slot corner being asked to handle a big-bodied receiver outside. Jones is a solid player, but he can't be the answer against every type of matchup. That's why the Patriots need more veteran depth at corner. You can't go into the back half of the season hoping everyone stays healthy. Carlton Davis is a great piece, but he's never played a full season. Behind him, you've got Alex Austin and Charles Woods, both talented but untested. That's a dangerous game to play when you're fighting for... Now let's move on to the next area that's been quietly simmering under the radar, but absolutely deserves attention: the cornerback position. You know, for years the Patriots' defense has been built on disciplined coverage, smart rotations, and corners who can read the game like chess players. That hasn't changed. Christian Gonzalez has been phenomenal, a real anchor in that secondary. The kid's composure, athleticism, and timing, you can't teach that. But as we saw this week, even the best players are one bad landing away from sitting on the sidelines. When he went up against Drake London for that contested ball and came down awkwardly, hearts across New England skipped a beat. Thankfully, he was able to shake it off, head to the locker room, and even said he was ready to return if the situation demanded it. That's huge. It speaks volumes about his toughness and attitude, but it also shines a light on something we can't ignore: depth. Because behind Gonzalez, Carlton Davis, and Marcus Jones, things get a bit shaky. Don't get me wrong, Davis brings veteran leadership, and Jones has been a dynamic playmaker, especially when lined up in the slot. But once you start dipping into the next layer of the rotation, guys like Alex Austin or Charles Woods, the level of experience drops dramatically. And in the NFL, depth at corner isn't a luxury, it's survival. One injury, one bad matchup, and suddenly you're asking a practice squad-level player to lock down an elite receiver on national television. That's not a recipe for long-term success. It's why some fans are already saying, go get another corner. Don't wait until it's too late. The Marcus Jones situation really showed both sides of the coin. When Atlanta shifted Drake London into the slot, it was a brilliant move. London's size and catch radius created a mismatch, and Jones, quick and explosive as he is, just couldn't win those physical battles consistently. That's not a knock on him. He's built to cover speedy slot guys, not big-bodied receivers who play like power forwards. But it reminded everyone that as good as the Patriots' top corners are, they still need reinforcements, especially as the season grinds on and fatigue sets in. And here's the thing. The Patriots don't necessarily need to go crazy and trade for a star corner. They just need dependable depth. There are veteran free agents out there, guys who've been around the league, know how to study film, and can step in at a moment's notice. Sure, they might be older, and sure, they might not run a sub-4.4 anymore, but experience counts for a lot when you're trying to protect a playoff spot. Players like Stephon Gilmore. Yes, a reunion wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. Or even someone like James Bradbury, who still has plenty left in the tank. These guys understand what it means to be in high-pressure situations. They know the pace of December football. And if the Patriots can bring in a veteran presence on a short, team-friendly deal, it could stabilize that entire secondary. Because here's the truth. The Patriots' defensive identity depends on that back end holding firm. The pass rush can create chaos all day. But if the corners can't maintain coverage for more than 2 or 3 seconds, even the best pressure up front won't matter. The great New England defenses of the past were built on balance. Smart, rotating defensive lines and corners who made quarterbacks hesitate just long enough for the pocket to collapse. That's what they need again. And with Gonzalez continuing to develop into a legitimate shutdown guy, surrounding him with solid veterans could turn this group from good to dangerous. Another thing to think about, Carlton Davis, as talented as he is, has never played a full season. He's battled through injuries nearly every year. So planning ahead is just smart roster management. The front office has to ask, what happens if one of our top 2 corners goes down? Because relying on youth alone isn't sustainable deep into a playoff run. This is when general managers earn their paycheck, identifying the right balance between short-term needs and long-term strategy. Maybe that means signing a seasoned corner who can play rotational snaps now and serve as insurance later. It doesn't have to be flashy, it just has to be smart. Now, when you look at how the Patriots operate historically, they love bringing in those late-season veterans, the kind of players who might have been sitting at home for a few weeks, staying in shape, waiting for the right opportunity. Every year, some team makes that kind of move, and it pays off. Remember when the Browns picked up Joe Flacco late in the year, and suddenly he was leading them on a playoff push? Sometimes those little low-risk signings make the biggest difference. I could easily see New England going that route with a defensive back. It's a low-commitment move, but it gives you options when it matters most. So what are the Patriots' true priorities as we stare down the stretch of the season? For me, it's simple. Keep building from the edges in. That means reinforcing the pass rush, shoring up cornerback depth, and continuing to protect Drake May's development by surrounding him with reliable weapons and a defense that doesn't put the offense in constant catch-up mode. The running backs are solid. The wide receiver group can hold its own if they stay healthy, but the front 7 and the secondary are the engines of this team's success. The Patriots aren't just playing for the present. They're reestablishing an identity. The physical, smart, situational football that defined the Belichick era is still the blueprint. But now it's about pairing that discipline with youth and energy. Gonzalez, May, Stevenson. These are the guys who'll carry this franchise forward. And if the front office makes the right moves before the trade deadline, this team could be primed for a serious playoff push, not just a feel-good regular season run. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to Patriots Hub and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our New England Patriots. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers around Gillette Stadium are turning into outright speculation after New England Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel reportedly made a startling statement that has sent shockwaves through the NFL community. According to sources close to the team, Vrabel was overheard saying, "He's not playing with me anymore," a line that has fans, analysts, and rival locker rooms alike scrambling to decipher its meaning. While no official confirmation has been released, insiders suggest this cryptic remark points to a major shakeup in the Patriots roster. The comment has sparked a frenzy on social media, with fans dissecting every possible scenario. Could this mean a trade is imminent? Is it a sign of internal discord within the locker room? Or perhaps a punishment for a high-profile incident off the field? Analysts are divided. Some believe Vrabel's statement might be aimed at a key veteran whose performance has recently been under scrutiny, while others speculate it could be directed at a rising star who has clashed with coaching staff over strategy and playing time. The timing of this revelation adds fuel to the rumor mill. The Patriots have been in a precarious position this season, struggling to maintain consistency while facing mounting pressure from both media and fans. Vrabel, known for his no-nonsense approach, has never shied away from making bold decisions, and this declaration seems to fit that mold. The quote alone has been enough to send fantasy football owners into a panic and rival teams quietly observing for any opening to exploit. Though the exact player remains a mystery, the speculation has already begun to shape conversations about the Patriots' future. Will the team consider trading a marquee player to shake up the locker room dynamics? Could this be the start of a mid-season overhaul orchestrated by Vrabel? The possibilities are endless, and one thing is certain. The Patriots are at the center of a storm that may redefine the rest of the season. As the rumor continues to swirl, insiders caution that more details are likely to emerge in the coming days. If Vrabel's words are anything to go by, New England may be on the verge of a dramatic shift, and fans everywhere are holding their breath, waiting to see who will be left standing when the dust settles. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our New England Patriots, be sure to subscribe to Patriots Hub and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.